Welcome to Friday, December 2nd, 2022. Your Day Weather Podcast is being brought to you by Cowboy State Daily. Check them out at cowboystatedaily.com. Also being brought to you by YDOT. When there's ice and snow, take it slow. Don't forget to call 511 or go to yoroad.info for the latest road and travel conditions. You'll need to check those conditions today as a very moist Pacific front is going to come through. Going to be a busy pattern. The weather across North America going to continue to be really busy with a very moist Pacific front moving through today. This is mainly going to be a mountain event with significant mountain snow, wind on the plains, colder temperatures. There will be some snow on the plains, but this is mainly going to be a mountain event. Cool for the weekend behind the front with some mountain snow showers. We have a push of colder air backing in from the northeast early in the week. That'll team up with more Pacific moisture, which means more mountain snow. I tell you, the mountains over the next 7 to 10 days will do very, very well. And then we have another storm system late next week and towards next weekend that we'll need to keep an eye on. So, lots going on with the weather here in early December. Today's satellite photo shows the Pacific front, and you can see the enhanced cloudiness here. A lot of moisture with this wave coming on through. It's moving extremely quickly. And what you're likely going to see is most of the event with this front happening during the daylight hours. So you can see the cloudiness over the mountains. Then you see this right here where there isn't any cloudiness along the Colorado Front Range in the southeastern Wyoming. That's because the winds are downsloping very strongly, giving you a bit of a chinook here to start the day. But colder air coming in behind this front as we work our way through the next 24 hours. Now, yesterday we showed you this graphic of the colder than average November that we saw in the western part of the United States. And it was really a cold month of November globally as well. You can see the cold in the west. Australia setting some records. Their summer off to a really cold start. Large part of the African continent as well, back across Asia. Then you might be noticing this blue strip here. These are the air temperatures impacted by the colder than average sea surface temperatures. So La Nina reflecting itself into the temperature pattern across the globe right there. And we'll show you an updated La Nina at the moment here at the end of the podcast. Now, this is what it was a year ago. This was November 2021, the exact opposite. So we've done a 180 this November compared to last November. And this was the look for a good part of December last year, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen this year. Here's today's 500 millibar chart. The big high there in the eastern Pacific, the big block up into the North Atlantic, and here's our Pacific wave right here. This guy right here is going to just slide, actually due south and sit here over the weekend before moving east early next week. That's going to keep the Pacific Northwest and parts of the West Coast in a cooler, moist, active pattern. You can see the axis of moisture with the front coming through right here. This is a area heavy snow overnight and very early this morning, going into the Wasatch Front and into western Wyoming. This is the precipitation forecast with the current Pacific front. Notice it's bringing rain into areas of New Mexico and Arizona, and you can see the significant moisture into the Sierras. This area right here is going to be under the colder air mass. Now, this doesn't look like a lot, but there'll be some icy roads and highways across Montana, the Dakotas up into the northern plains, and this is kind of that Chinook belt right here where you're not going to get any precipitation. But you can see all of the major mountain ranges here going to get some significant snow over the next 48 hours. There it is with the snowfall. Then, when you take a look at snowpack conditions, as of yesterday, look at all the dark blue. The dark blue shows snowpacks greater than 150% of average. Green means near average or slightly above or slightly below. The yellow means about 70 to 90% of average. And we'll see these numbers go up after this Pacific Gulf front goes through. So this is a really good start to the snowpack, and we're just going to see these numbers grow here over the next week or two. This is Saturday. By Saturday, this is that same Pacific front. It is all ready to Buffalo by tomorrow. That's how fast it's moving. There's that low coming off the coast that's going to spin around, but a westerly flow will bring somewhat more of a moderate temperature pattern our way, but it's still going to be chilly. By early next week, so this is for Sunday around noontime, and this is for late Monday afternoon and evening. This area of cold air backs to the southwest, So cold air gets pushed into Montana, the Dakotas, and that cold air gets pushed up against the divide. At the same time, there's another fetch of Pacific moisture coming in from this low. Sort of a similar situation to what we have now. So what that'll do is that'll bring another slug of precipitation. Then notice this arch right here of snow. This is from the Arctic air backing into Montana and the Dakotas up against the divide, and then Pacific moisture overrunning it. So there's going to be a light to moderate snow event early next week across Montana and North Dakota, with the higher terrain catching that Pacific moisture again. This is why the mountains will continue to pile up the snow. But you can see there's not a lot of snow east of the divide, at least in this area here. Some, but not a lot. But as we get into next weekend, this is by next Saturday, we've got some type of a trough coming through the Four Corners region. So late next week and next weekend, we'll have to keep an eye on that one as being a weather maker potentially. And then we can still see the Greenland block. We still see lots of low pressure up here. We still see the cold air up over north central Canada. And this high in the southeastern United States is an indication that the most active weather will be on the western side of the nation here for the next 7 to 10 days. Quick look at sea surface temperature anomalies out in the Pacific Ocean. These are the sea surface temperature anomalies as of Monday evening of this week. There you can see the La Nina, and it's starting to show weakness right here on the eastern side of the Pacific. Still very robust on the west side of the La Nina area, but it is showing signs of starting to show chinks in its armor. But a real key factor I want to show you is right here. We've talked about this at times, where that northern Pacific being warmer is a cold signal, and it's also a signal of a more active pattern, more Pacific fronts, more mountain snows. This is a different scenario than we had a year ago. Now notice there is a little bit of a cool pool right up here in the Gulf of Alaska, but it's not very big, and it's actually been weakening and getting warmer as these temperature anomalies have been pushing up here a little bit. If I show you what was a year ago, there's a big difference. So a year ago, see how much colder the North Pacific was right here? And then we had it right up against that warm. That's why we had what we call blowtorch November and December last year, where we had just a very strong west to east jet stream that brought us a persistent Chinooking pattern east of the divide and kept temperatures much warmer than average. Also, a year ago, the La Nina was more robust than it is now. So if you compare the sea surface temperature anomalies, there are some similarities, but there are some differences. But one reason our fall so far and our early winter has been different is because of the change that has happened in that North Pacific. That has been a real key factor. Have a good weekend, everybody. See you Monday.